What's up guys, Cam from Surprise Studios. This is going to be HOOKSCRAP Devlog 3. Let's just get right into it. Alright, so to jump right into it, thank you guys so much for helping us reach 250 subs. It really has meant the world to us and has really pushed us to make more content for you guys. And if you want to keep showing us some more support, make sure to like and comment and subscribe, and make sure to join the Discord down below. We've been chatting with a lot of people in the community so far, and it's been a really fun time. So yeah, make sure to do that. And yeah, keep it short. Let's just jump right into the recap. So, there's been a lot going on with the team since the last devlog. Jack went away on a cruise for a while. Tyler actually moved back home for the summer. I was actually gone for a 2-week-long road trip. And Austin is a pair. In the middle of all that, we realized that there was some integral issues to the game. It was not fun. So over the course of the last few weeks, we pushed forward, fixing systems that weren't fun and making them so satisfying that you can't take your hands off them. And we've also been working towards our minimum viable product, which for all intents and purposes is a finished game. Now, time to go through everything we've been up to.
Hey everybody, I'm Jack Murray, Surprise Studios resident duck enjoyer and artist. Recently I've been working on the final boss of HOOKSCRAP, the SPF flagship, aka the Judgment. Here's what the flagship looked like initially. We decided it was too small and had some gameplay tweaks to it, so I had to rework the animations and art. Here's the end result. After this, I set off to put on my programming hat and make the final boss do the final boss thing. I started by writing out all the functionality of the flagship on note cards, sticky notes, and my cat. It was only after this that I really noticed what I had gotten myself into. For starters, I had to build a state machine, which basically tells the flagship what it's currently doing and what it can do next. I had the hard part right after that, making each state actually do what it was supposed to do. I had to make the default states pursue the player, I had to have a state for every attack, and then I had to have different functionality depending on which phase the boss was in. After days of bug fixing, trial and error, and a lot of help from our programmers, I had a working final boss. This whole process was a struggle for me. This was the most complicated thing I've programmed in C# by far, and it being a learning experience is an understatement. If I could give one piece of advice for any game developers who struggle with programming like me, spend more time planning than coding. Write out what the code needs to do in plain English, draw node diagrams, and research documentation on the internet to find the functions you need beforehand. If I spent more time planning, I could have saved days of work.
The last version of the Harpoon was hard to control and had a lot of issues. Our new version focuses on being a lot more controllable and allowing players to do more interesting things with it. As you can see, when you grab an object, it starts to reel in slowly, and you hold down left click to do this. You can also let go of objects to let them float back into the air. If I grab a new object though, I can do a third option now, which is I can launch it into enemies, causing them to explode wildly. You can do the same with enemy ships, sending them flying out into the world and colliding with enemies. In addition to those features, we've now added some of the very first components which you can add to your ship. There are many different kinds, but one of the ones that I've been working on is what we call the Harpoon. Instead of releasing just one, you can now grab 3 different things at once. It's pretty handy, and like before, you can launch them out and send them flying into enemy ships. It works like a charm, and it's super powerful if you know what you're doing. Over the past week, I've been working on implementing the new UI for the ship crafting. You can craft different components to add to your ship, which are shown all throughout the module library, and you can choose one to add. Here we have a component called the Energy Shield. It adds 10% max HP, as shown in this effect list, and it costs these 3 different scrap, which you can get from scrapping enemy ships. You can craft it pressing this button, and it'll be added to your personal library. You can then equip it to your ship from that menu. It's a simple system, and it's quite good, but UI can be definitely janky, so it took a while to get to this point.
Well, simply put, it is, your standard game space map. In our game, it acts as a means of traveling to different systems or levels in the game. So as you can see, the levels, they're signified by different nodes that you can interact with. So for example, right now the blue node, that's currently where I am. All the neighboring nodes and the unoccupied nodes are red, and I can click on each of these nodes, but only if they're near me. So I can't click on this one, but if I click on this one, you can see that I load the next level. So basically that's the general gist of how the map works. The map is randomly generated every time the game starts. Basically that just allows for the unique gameplay experience that we want to have in HOOKSCRAP. We first generate a series of points, and you can kind of already see them here, right? These are all the points, or some of the points that we've generated. With these points, we make something called Delaunay triangulation, which is where we get a lot of our edges from. So a lot of the edges you see on the map right now, a lot of those originated from a Delaunay triangulation. What we do from that point, right, is we take that and we turn it into minimum spanning tree. So the minimum spanning tree is basically like the basis for the map, right? So what the minimum spanning tree would have initially is basically just a bunch of interconnected dots like we have now, but there aren't any loops. So like you can see that there are some loops now, and I'll explain why that is. After our minimum spanning tree, we go back and we actually add some loops just to make the gameplay more interesting, because obviously if there weren't any loops, then it wouldn't be too fun. Like there would be like a linear path that you would have to take, there wouldn't be too many options. And so that's why we actually go back and we add some here. But generally the minimum spanning tree acts as a pretty big basis for the map, so it's definitely an important part. And then finally, after that point, we just determine locations for where things are going to be. So for example, like the yellow nodes are the rest stations. You can see there's 4 of them here. The blue node represents the player, so right there you can see that there's a player node there. And strangely enough, right next to that is the SPF flagship, which will have its own behavior on the map, and it'll actually move around when the player does. So something to look out for there when you play HOOKSCRAP. But with that being said, we gotta keep track of all this data, right? So over here we can see all this stuff is happening. This is where we generate the map. This is where we can play with some values here to make this happen. We also have our data over here of all the levels and stuff. So we have our actual game objects, which are the dots that you see, and then we also have all the levels right here. So as you can see, each of these dots basically has all this data. So what level it is, where it is on the map, if the node is currently occupied by the player or the flagship, all that good stuff. So this is how the map is generated in HOOKSCRAP. The collision system. Bro, I've been waiting so long to talk about this part. It's definitely been the coolest part for me to work on. The end result has just been super cool to see. But let me actually explain it before I jump in. So all of our destructible objects in the game, right, they're divided into 2 sections, or 2 variants rather. We have our grabbable objects, so this asteroid right here, right now, that's grabbable. Now, it's the other variant, which is throwable. And as you can see, I just threw it. Whenever objects of either of those variants receive enough damage, they'll break apart. So these asteroids, these ships, they all break apart because they're either grabbable or throwable. And there's a few things I could talk about on how this happens, but one major one, destructible 2D. This is the asset that we've been using. It's really made all of this possible. If we go over to the docs here, I can show you. Fracture is something that we used a lot. 2D fracture right here. Basically, this allows for sprites to just break apart, and that's really given the look here of objects breaking up like they do here. And combined with Jack's awesome VFX, come on, you just can't beat this. You just can't. So yeah, I'm really happy with the result of this. This is a really important feature in our game, so it's good to see that it's also looking really good. It ties into not only the game feel that we want to go for, but also the fun of it, the combat. This just makes the combat super fun, so it's great to see it in here. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it's turned out.
I've been busy at work making the rest of the necessary UI for the game, and here's a quick overview. So starting with the crafting UI, it shows a list of components, and as a recap, components are items that you can craft and then equip to your ship to shake up how you play HOOKSCRAP. Your ship's current status, and the crafting requirements to make the ship components. We also have the repair UI. This shows your crafted components, your ship's current status, equipped components, and how much it costs to repair your ship. Pause, real quick, I forgot to mention the upgrade section. It shows your buffs and debuffs for certain stats that your ship will have for the rest of your run, and those can be determined by the components you have equipped and by the loot that you've collected throughout a run. Last, we got the system UI. Once the player activates the warp gate, they can access the system map, which will allow them to go to different solar systems in our game. This is comprised of the ship's current stats on the left, the map in the middle, and the info about the system you will be traveling to on the right. Hey guys, so this devlog actually might be a little bit shorter than usual. That's because I actually am going away again. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but you know, the team seems to be holding together pretty well without me, so that's pretty good to hear. Well, anyways, just make sure to like and subscribe and comment, and you know, like for the algorithm. Like for the algorithm. I'll put the comment here. Someone did that, and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. But yeah, like all that engagement really does help us out, so thank you guys for that. Make sure to also join the Discord. As said in the last video, that was super helpful. It's been really cool just engaging with you guys and talking with you guys. So if you guys are interested in just talking more about indie game dev, talking about the game, just talking with us at all, make sure to join that. Link's gonna be in the bio. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching.
I count money, I count money, I count money. I swipe in 100. That's what crazy I did it. 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 I made it over the millions. How much they pay me $1 million? I'm struggling and dabbing at charity. It's like crack, I be smacking the ceiling.